As you can see, here we find another case of critical aura loss captured right here on today's episode of Fraud Watch. Villains, the antagonists, the specters that haunt the countless stories we humans have created, characters that are terrifying, threatening, and bring an endless air of danger to the main group of heroes. Your Jokers, your Darth Vaders, your Johnny-stopping Evil Force 5s, and our favorite Spiky Blue Rat is not free from these types of characters. Throughout its 30 years of history, this series has assembled an iconic rogues gallery of monsters, geniuses, and gods. Danger so unbelievably extreme, so unbelievably insurmountable, most people would believe that people like you or me could never even hope to stand a chance against them. But you see, that's where you're wrong. You, my simple-minded, weak viewer, might not be able to stop these things, but I'm not like y'all. I'm goated. I'm the best to ever do it! I'm sorry for calling y'all simple-minded. Like and subscribe, please.
That's ridiculous. Of course I can take these guys on.
Mephiles blast.
As a kid and growing up with Sonic games, I thought the enemy Sonic face were unstoppable to normal human beings like me. I mean, look at this guy, or this guy, or this guy. Wait a minute. But after giving it some time to think, I've slowly come to the conclusion that these guys are bums! These threats that I thought were unstoppable hordes could get washed by anyone with even the most basic of knowledge. So today, I've gathered a list of Sonic's most deadly villains, and I'm going over my process on how I low-diff these threats. So sit back, get comfortable on this fine Christmas week, as I tell you how I would beat these Sonic villains. Before we properly begin, let's go over a couple ground rules to make sure everyone in the audience is up to speed. I will be going into this challenge with the limitations of a normal human being, and with specific exceptions, I will be limited to what a normal human being can have access to. So no nukes, no government assistance, and so on. I will be going over the strengths and weaknesses of my opponents, and at the end of their section, I will be ranking them on a numerical scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being I'm soloing you, and 1 being fuck no baby! Basically, if you've seen similar videos going over horror movie villains from Degenerocity or DerekFDB, I'll be under the same restrictions as them. With that said, let's begin with our first matchup. That being the first villain from the modern era, the God of Destruction, Chaos. Transformed from a normal Chow and corrupted by his hatred, Chaos is a being made entirely of water. His powers include shape-shifting, the ability to control all water, super strength and mobility, being bulletproof, and with each Chaos Emerald he eats, he grows stronger and stronger until he reaches his perfect form, where he becomes a city-sized kaiju that can control and create tornadoes and tsunamis, and shoot beams of pure Chaos energy. In short, he's basically a waterbender with laser beams. For my first fight, he seems like a near unbeatable opponent, being way above my power level, with the advantage of being intangible to normal attacks. But here's the thing, Chaos has 2 big weaknesses in place that prevent him from being unstoppable. First off, he's made of water, and thus has the same physical properties of water. We know this because in the Chaos 6 fight, we can use these ice bombs to freeze him, which allows him to be vulnerable to attack. So anything you theoretically could do to your average water bottle at home, you can do to Chaos. But secondly, and most fatally, he has 1 big physical weakness: his brain. You see, his body might be intangible to most attacks, but a good knock to the brain and he's cooked. When hit, he loses all control of his own physical mass and reverts temporarily to a puddle of water. Hit him in the brain enough times, and you'll have him too weak to manifest a physical state for a pretty long duration of time, considering the time between his defeat at the Egg Carrier and the events of Final Story. So in short, my odds of victory only depend on what form I face him in. If I'm fighting pre-perfect Chaos, all I need to do to secure my victory is to fight him away from any body of water to ensure he has less chances to rebound. Once engaged in combat, I grab a big blunt object like a bat or something and whack his brain. After a good couple times of doing this, he'll turn into a puddle. Then I'll suck him up with a napkin, strain the water into a bottle, and freeze him or something. Boom, he's done. As for perfect Chaos, well, his size is easily the biggest factor working against me here, as while his brain is still open to attack, it'll be way too high for me to reasonably attack, and getting close to him would be a near instantaneous death sentence. While it might be possible if I had military weaponry like a nuke or something, or I got high with a helicopter, the rules state I don't get cool shit like that. So, final score: Pre-Perfect Chaos gets a solid 8 or 9, while Perfect Chaos gets a 1. It's not a 0, mainly due to the fact I could still theoretically attack him. From one unrealistic kaiju to the next, my next opponent is the Biolizard from SA2. Designed to be the ultimate life form but ended up a failed attempt in the path to developing Shadow, the Biolizard has a lot of freaky weird powers, ranging from regenerative healing and asexual reproduction with these pink weird eggs, which, side note, I only just found out what the pig eggs are for during research and it's... ew. And most importantly, it has near invulnerable skin. So the question is, what are my chances of beating this whopper of a lizard in a fight? It's a dying, oversized salamander living off life support. It's not even a contest, I'm beating its ass. It can't move any part of its body outside of its neck to try and gnaw at you like a snapping turtle. It shoots very easy to dodge balls of energy at you, and if it wasn't obvious, it's attached to a giant and very easily breakable life support machine at the top of its back. All I have to do to beat this guy is get like 2 stories above it and throw rocks at its TMU ass big red button weak point until the big ugly lizard dies. He does get a generous buff in Shadow Gens, as his unborn children allow him to fly and slam itself back onto the ground and even stick onto walls. How am I gonna handle that, you ask? I move slightly out of the way from his slow-moving attacks. 10 out of 10, no further questions. I'd have a harder time fighting the Geico Gecko. Next! Now we finally enter the normal-sized villain category with Sonic 06's main villain, the split half of the Sun God Solaris, Mephiles the Dark. Now I know you might be asking, well, isn't Solaris technically the main villain of the story? And I'd say to you, shut up. Mephistopheles' powers include full-on shape-shifting and power copying, control over shadows, time manipulation, creation of energy weapons, teleportation, and most importantly, immortality, meaning I can't directly kill him. His list of powers sounds so extreme that it seems like any Joe Schmo has no chance against him, but like all the other villains, he does have a couple weaknesses. Considering he's a living shadow and is a being created from literal darkness, one of his more glaring weaknesses is sunlight, which does mean canonically that like you or me, Mephiles probably doesn't go outside during the day. Any force of intense light can harm or even immobilize him, like Shadow's Chaos Spear. But his true Achilles heel is the fact that, even though he can't die, he can still be sealed away by a device known as the Scepter of Darkness, in which it's impossible for him to physically escape unless someone breaks the scepter directly. If you've seen 06 though, you'd have known that just trying to seal him all willy-nilly won't work, as his power boost from getting Shadow's form made him strong enough to just bust out of it. So in order to seal him, you need to first get him weak enough to be captured. In short, Mephiles is technically a Pokemon. In which case, how would I be able to defeat him in direct combat? Well, here's a secret. Mephiles has one more secret weakness that I failed to mention before, a fatal attack that can leave him too weak to even take a stand, and that weakness is a gun. I'm not fucking with you, he's weak enough to get shot and then runs away. This guy sucks ass. Now, you see, Mephiles is incredibly unlucky with having me as an opponent. As you can hopefully tell, I'm from the land of the free, meaning that I can call upon the power of the Second Amendment to get easy access to the American dream. So all I need to do to beat this guy is get like any super bright flashlight, release a 360 no-clip double pump on this guy's head, and when he's weak enough, seal him into the Scepter of Darkness and then, I don't know, drop it into the ocean. In short, this guy is fodder and a loser. 8 out of 10, only because if I'm in a dark area, he can catch me off guard and jump me. He's still pretty strong. My next opponent is the leader of the Deadly Six, Zavok. And I'm gonna be so honest with you guys, I don't have a counter for him. Zavok is the first villain I'm losing to. I'm serious. Zavok's powers include incredible strength and fighting skills, extreme durability, the ability to control magnetic fields and thus any technology, and has the ability to grow in size like King Piccolo. With Zavok, it's less that he's strong, more that he has no obvious weaknesses like every other villain I've faced so far. The only thing he's been shown to be especially weak to is the shell. The only thing he's been shown to be weak to is this shell, a device that emits a specific sound that heavily weakens him and the rest of the Zeddy. But in this case, considering it's a rare device that Eggman can't simply replicate, I'm gonna assume they don't sell these things at Costco. Outside of that, I have no way of fighting this guy without getting my shit kicked in. I genuinely cannot believe I'm saying this, but Zavok is the first 0 out of 10, as I'm spending 0 seconds near him before I get the hell out of there. My next and final opponent is Infinite, leader of Jackal Squad and wielder of the Phantom Ruby. Infinite is probably the most stacked character on the list that I have to beat, as his powers are pretty insane when written down. He basically has complete control over the Phantom Ruby, a stone that has a lot of different and equally confusing powers, but in short has complete reality manipulation. It takes control of visual and depth perception to feed the brain false information, which when under the Ruby's effects, creates physical projections with mass and feel. You're basically trapped in VR, except everything created has mass and space. The limits to this thing are basically endless. It can empower beings, allow teleportation, create clones that are nearly impossible to tell apart from the real thing, create literal dimensions, and warp the fabric of space-time. So yeah, this is gonna be a lot harder to deal with than a water monster or a giant lizard. But I think I've come up with a decent plan. Now, hear me out. All I need to do to fight Infinite without being turned into a fish or get the sun thrown at me is close my eyes. Let me explain. The Phantom Ruby is described to control your visual perception, meaning it edits your observable reality to whatever it wishes. But as long as you can't perceive reality, it can't be changed, because you can't project an image when there's nothing to project it on. So if I'm in combat with Infinite and don't use my eyes, he technically can't hurt me. The only footnote to this plan is that I'd literally fight an opponent I can't see. So it's not like it's gonna be an easy win. He'd still just, you know, kick my ass. But here's the second thing. Without the Phantom Ruby, Infinite is pathetic. He loses to the combined might of Sonic and a newbie at combat. He gets his ass kicked by Shadow and he gets his ass beat by Eggman. So in the end, I can't really do anything to Infinite and he really won't do anything to me. I'm giving this match a 5 out of 10 because it's basically a stalemate. And that's really it, I guess. That's all the list of villains I wanted to face. I guess we can end this video right here. No, anybody but him. Our actual last villain on this list is the iconic edgelord of the Trollpasta wiki, Sonic.exe. First appearing in 2011, he spiraled into becoming so popular that he basically exists in a bubble outside of the Sonic franchise. There's thousands of modern day variants and retakes of the Sonic.exe concept, but today I'm covering the original creepypasta, because what I am not doing is scouring through the lore of this fuck-ass thing and getting corrected in the comments because I seriously could not care less. Unlike every other villain on this list, EXE, or by his other name, X, is an external being from the Sonic world, as he exists in our world as a spirit of pure evil, who possesses a copy of the original Sonic game and uses it to take the souls of those who play it. His powers include controlling the reality of the game, teleportation, the ability to steal souls, dream manipulation, and so on. He can also apparently manifest into the real world as he turns into a Sonic plush at the end of the creepypasta. Now with all that said, I can finally get into my odds of winning, and why I think this guy sucks! This complete and utter fraud of a creature is so unbelievably pathetic that it defies comprehension. All I have to do to beat this loser is not play a shitty game, or even better, destroy his fake ass Timu disc. Genuinely, what is this guy gonna do to me if I don't feel like playing Sonic 1? All this guy does is kill the same 3 people endlessly. He is the textbook definition of not picking on someone your own size. And really, what is he gonna do to me if he takes form in real life? Try to fight me as a Sonic figure or a plush or something? I just beat its ass. What threat does this guy serve if you have even the most basic of sense? Nothing. This guy sucks. What does he do? He does nothing. No further statements. X gets a 0 out of 10. Tails doll better. And that's actually all the characters I wanted to cover. If you enjoyed this type of video, comment down below any more characters you wanted me to fight. That's all for me though. Hipster out.